Amy is an engineer, one of Google's top food critics, and an adventure enthusiast. Her and her husband, Tyler, are busy brewing beer, cooking new meals, and parenting their dog, Dublin. She has recently dabbled in pursuing new hobbies, of which include skiing, snow skiing, and kayaking. She is overly kind to everyone she meets, and I hope to learn from her perspective on life. Here is episode 4 of Paper Mountains, Amy Bernardy.
Wow, cue that intro music.
How you doing today?
Good. Already feeling like you're showing me is more interesting than I am.
Oh, no. Cheers, Amy.
Cheers.
Thank you for doing this. I know we've been talking since I started doing this, so
Yep.
here we are.
Here we are. We're in the podcast world now, and everybody's going to want our number. I need an agent.
So what's first? Let's talk about some hobbies, since that's kind of been a new thing this year, with the two that I mentioned at least.
Yep, hobbies. Well, I think you actually said it best when you said I dabbled.
Yeah.
Like, I was thinking about this in all the podcasts you did before this. I have no, legit hobby that I'm very stuck on. I just dabble in, a ton of hobbies. I go through phases.
Yeah.
So.
Why do you see yourself doing that? Not sticking to one thing and just kind of looking at the amount of things that are out there is because there's just so much to do?
Yeah. The world is full of endless possibilities. I feel like anytime I think I like something, I just have to look right, and then there's something else that's way more interesting.
Where are you at?
Just waiting.
Where are you at right now with the most interesting hobby that you have been dabbling in recently?
Well, I'm already thinking about the next one that I want to try, actually.
Okay. What's that?
It's called fluid art.
Okay. I have no idea what this is.
Yeah, I just started seeing some posts on Instagram about fluid art, which is also called pour painting, and on Reddit, where people are dabbling in it. And it's basically when you take acrylic paint, you add a medium to it to make it more fluid, and you can make these sick pictures, and they tell a story, but it's just color, and it's really pretty. So I just got some supplies to start that up. Ready for the next hobby.
Nice.
Yeah.
How was your first time skiing this year, snow skiing? Do you think you'll keep pursuing that one, or is that maybe one that's going to fall on the wayside and not be as interested anymore?
No, I think I really liked skiing because it was one of those sports or hobbies, I guess, that actually makes you push yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
Once you start going down the hill, there's no stopping you. You're going down that hill one way or another, even if you're rolling down it, losing all your gear. So I do want to try it again. I feel like it took me a second to get my husband, Tyler, involved in it too, and now he likes it. So that one might actually stick around a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I think that was the first time that we might have done something outside of work, where it really showed how dedicated you are to not giving up on you're like, oh no, I'm going to do this the whole day. Even if I just have to go down the bunny hill for 2 hours by myself at New York, you were pretty dedicated and strong on that you were going to at least somewhat get of an entry level of a skill established, and just not be like, I'm done, gonna go back to the lodge myself.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself having that dedication for a lot of hobbies or anything outside of work, or is it maybe only if it's interesting to you and you're really enjoying it? Do you know what might bring that to the forefront?
Well, these are great questions, Jake. It's got way more in depth right at the beginning than I thought it would, but that's something I have been thinking about. I'd say I dabble, but I'm also totally a jack of all trades. I was really dedicated because that's what we were doing that weekend, and I was I'm entry level now, but I rarely surpass the entry level zone.
Okay.
But I would say that I'm willing to apply more dedication to something. But right now, I think that probably does go to the thing that I spend the most time on by default is work.
Yeah.
So, and outside of work, I just definitely struggle because that's most of our day.
Yeah.
Is to be at work, and that's what I put everything into versus the thing I'm interested in, and I kind of keep it at a lower level, but
yeah. Well, it's time, right? When you exert These are 8 to 10 hours of your time a day to maybe a brain taking a lot of your, I don't know, knowledge and just like your mental resourcing. It's exhaustive to try to really get in depth on another skill because
yeah, and how do you
50% of
choose
your
the
time.
skill? So
Yeah.
this is why it's like, well, I'm gonna do the thing that I kind of like on the side, and then I'm gonna move on because I want to try everything.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing I would probably say no to saying,
Yeah.
like actually trying. But as far as just the thing that takes the most time is by default gonna suck up my time, which I don't necessarily love, because like, yeah, you call me an engineer, but I don't really feel like an engineer.
What? Yeah. I mean, titles kind of don't necessarily mean anything. It puts you maybe into a box that you don't want to be in.
Yeah.
So you have a mechanical engineering degree, correct? Is that what you majored in?
Yep, that's the piece of paper. That's what it says.
Yeah. So you have maybe the academic skill set to be labeled as an engineer.
Right.
What? I guess we could briefly go into. I don't want to have this whole conversation be based around work, but
Right.
that is kind of our
it's a little
mutual,
inevitable.
our relationship of where it stemmed from. So obviously, I think there's some justification to talk about it. So let's maybe start down that path a little bit of why did you choose engineering as your degree?
Well, I actually started with a general education degree. I didn't choose my major when I started school. And that was mostly because I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I actually didn't put a lot of thought into it leading up to going to school.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, well, I could do whatever I want, which everyone always made me feel that way. But I never really thought about what I wanted. So I started out with biochemistry when I finally chose.
Okay.
Because I was like, okay, I think I'm supposed to go into medicine. Like, I had a very like rigid like brainwashing leading up to going to school. So it was very like this, I do medicine or I do something else that gets me a paycheck, yada da. So I made it all the way through like OChem 2 before I was finally like, what am I going to do with this degree? So I ended up thinking about really what I would want to do and like the people that I spent time with and that I kind of looked up to around me, and I kind of landed on the folks that were in engineering.
Yeah.
So maybe it was a little bit more people guided, but
That's interesting.
I also liked the subjects and I liked math, and I felt like it was somewhere where I could make a difference in society.
Yeah.
And not, just go along the path to medicine because I didn't have the passion for that.
So when you kind of maybe had that moment of deciding to switch majors, was it more of a career-based decision of like not sure if there was like enough out there of an actual job basis that you're interested in, or was it like, man, I'm just not interested in this whatsoever and I want to kind of pivot and go in a different direction?
Yeah, maybe a combination.
Yeah.
I knew that I could go down a path where I got a career, but I also didn't see myself going to school until I was 30 to be a doctor.
Yeah.
So I thought about engineering. It was more like you're done with school and then you can go get a job and kind of live your life. And I guess that's kind of why I ended up there.
No, that's cool. Because I guess I went into college kind of having that framework of I'm just going to go to engineering at this point once that decision was made towards the end of graduating high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I never thought about steering directions, but a ton of people do. Or I know how many people I went to college with that switch majors 1-2 years in. They're like, I'm out of this. I'm transitioning, going somewhere else.
Because they finally are like, yeah, I'm not that big a fan of what I'm doing. And you realize you're talking at least the next like 10, 15 years of your life, unless you make like a major career change after that point.
Yeah, it's probably a specifically hard in the United States to do that with the money and the cost always lingering over your head for cost of schooling.
That's a good point.
That was probably the biggest thing. Like once I started spending my money, it's like, hey, these dollars are going towards this major, and if I switch now, all of that, a majority of that expense is now lost.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks in a bit. Maybe locking people into that path that they're not necessarily passionate about.
Yeah, that's true.
So what drove you to thinking that medicine was a a career trajectory for you? Was that established in high school? Just other people around you were pursuing that sort of major?
Yeah, it's a big part of it is like that was considered, prestigious and successful.
Mm-hmm.
And I know my siblings, I have 3 siblings and 2 of them older than me. So they both went that direction and I was super heavily influenced by them. They were my biggest role models when I was younger. And to me, that just felt like a really solid route to go.
Yeah.
But I really wasn't putting a lot of thought into it again. So I was just like, yeah, I think it's something that I can come to like. It's how I think about anything. I'm just like, I can come to like that. Yeah. I'm like very convinced that I can like anything that's out there. But it's definitely, I don't think that's true necessarily. Like if you really tried, you could rank the things that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
But I didn't ever really try to do that. So
that's I think your ability to look at things in a positive way says a lot about your personality. It's like, no, this is fine, right? I think this is fine.
This is fine. Yeah, that's probably true. But I mean, some people would say that I'm not super optimistic, but I guess I do try to see like the pro in any situation, or
which is optimism.
Opportunity, but I guess, but then you can hear me at night. It's like I'm different night and day.
Yeah.
I wake up in the morning and I'm like, all right, opportunities everywhere. But then once the night hits, I'm like, what? My life is a lie.
I don't know about
such
entirely,
a big transition.
But it's just, but that's why I think if you have this life of being able to think about those decisions, and that you can always steer your life into a different direction if you don't think it is the right way. But just thinking about the situations around you give you that opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
When you make it sound, when you made that decision to go to mechanical engineering, you almost wanted to go against the grain, and we're like, hey, this is maybe not normal, and I really want to prove that it can be done and maybe make your own path for you. Is that true or not true?
Maybe a little bit. I will say, like, my parents were thrilled when I switched to engineering. They just want me to be happy, ultimately.
Yeah.
They just taught us the best that they knew. And to me, it was kind of cool because you do go into a world where statistically, like, women are not as common.
Yeah.
And you had to make it work for you. But I don't think it was, like, super driven by some, I don't know, bigger goal.
Yeah. It was less of an outside perspective and more of like, hey, I just kind of want to do something different.
Something I could do. Yeah. And it was really practical. I was between that and psychology. Psychology I didn't see as practical. Yeah. So after like 5 days of like heavy debating, I landed on engineering.
Yeah.
But it is crazy to think like you can shoot every day. We're like choosing a different fork in our life. And that was one of them that like really, really shaped the next however many years of my life.
Yeah. What were you getting ready to say? You said between that or psychology.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's cool. And are you happy with that decision?
I have to be.
Yeah.
Don't I have to be?
No, I don't think so. I think that you will look at the positives that obviously came out of that, of making that decision and going career. Is mechanical where you met Tyler, or did you know Tyler before switching majors?
I knew Tyler before switching majors.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a couple classes together after I switched majors, which was cool. But
yeah.
Nope. I mean, I had some friends there, but I think like the people that I met though, and like the way that I learned to be like self-sufficient kind of came from being in engineering, because that's where I got my first co-ops and had a chance to kind of get out on my own and see how to, be a professional on my own.
Yeah.
So
I think that, I don't know, I wouldn't call myself an engineer either with our positions that we have at work.
I would call you an engineer.
I think that engineering and getting that engineering science degree, I think that type of person might think differently, and maybe is a reason to put somebody in that category more so than having like a PE stamp. I think you can just tell people look at life differently, and maybe there's more of a statistical analysis basis or more of a mathematic kind of way of looking at situations of that makes somebody an engineer. Whereas people who don't ever learn that skill set, you can tell they just think about things differently. And you, I mean, if we went on a trip with you, you're like, we need to have this, we're ready for this. This is what we're going to do, and I don't think you're going to get that sort of mentality with non-engineering.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Like, I definitely would say like my skill set fit the degree.
Yeah.
I just definitely would have probably been fine if I chose another degree too.
Yeah, but that's anything.
Yeah,
it just would have been in a different place.
Yeah, but that kind of goes into the whole, like, am I going to be an engineer my whole life? I don't know if I see that.
Yeah.
Or not.
Well, maybe with the advancements in science and technology, we'll live to be a couple hundred years old, and year 100, you just completely start over.
At 100 years old.
Yeah, I'm going back to
college.
But
it's actually just like my plastic body that's going around doing it for me.
Probably.
Yeah.
So you briefly mentioned maybe some of the outside stigma of females not going into engineering. You've been in the workplace now for coming up towards 3 years.
Yeah.
How do you feel that in your life right now, of that perspective of being a female engineer in the workplace? Do you feel like any societal way of pushing you to think, or how has your internal actual experience been for you?
I think I know what you're asking. Yeah, I definitely haven't felt like anything's held me back since day one of getting into engineering. I don't know like what alternative career path would have been where women are more common, but I will say that in my experience, I don't think I've been held back. I think I've been supported, and I don't think that, like, even when I'm in a room of, it's always going to be like 80-90% men.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about that fact. I mean, there's definitely points of time where you realize that you said something and then someone else said the same thing and they didn't listen, but I don't think that's unique to females.
Mm-hmm.
I think that could happen to anybody who just doesn't have like the right personality in our little corporate bubble.
Would you like to see that ratio change towards 50-50?
Sure. Why not?
Yeah.
I want women to know that they can do it and they'll be supported, and they just have to find the right environment for them.
Yeah. And that's with anything.
Yeah.
Of any, I don't know if like the root of, if you keep pulling back the layers back of kind of what that stems from initially, I mean, you could go way back in history of obviously why we're not at a 50-50%, but like maybe you'll never get there in certain fields, but like you said, you can always have that opportunity if that's the skill set that you're interested in attaining.
Yep, exactly.
But I don't know. Everybody's own experience is different, and I was just curious if you're gonna have a different perspective on the exact same situation that I might have taken away.
Yeah, what's your perspective on women in the workplace? Do you hate women?
I don't. It doesn't matter
I don't
at
think
all.
It bothers you, right?
No, not at all. I don't care. I think that you are way more of a person who's going to go out of your way to help bridge that gap of wanting to help a younger person or a younger female, show them that they can do that.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't know if I have much of a voice in that sort of stance. So it's like, and I come from a position where with living in the United States, I do think that everybody should have that opportunity and does. You're going to have negative circumstances, and just trying to take that not so negatively internally and just pushing that to prove those bad situations wrong, or those people wrong, that you can do it. Easier said than done for somebody like me to say it.
Yeah, but you still had to, for everything that you've gotten in life, you've had to fight your own battles and meet your own challenges.
Everybody's got their story.
Yeah.
So let's go up. We're done with work. We don't need to keep talking about that.
Cool.
I mentioned the Google food reviewer, cooking as a hobby.
Cooking's probably one of my more constant hobbies,
Okay.
I would say. Like, I haven't just dropped cooking out of my life since I got interested in it a few years ago.
It's only been recently. But yeah, I feel like you take it to an art form of you really taking pride in making something. We just had tacos that you brought. They're fantastic. Why cooking? What's that come from?
I would say cooking comes from, one, I love food. So I want to be able to make food. Yeah. That's awesome. It comes from wanting to share something with people and give people a good experience. And I also just, did I say I love food? So, but I didn't start cooking until I lived alone, I think, for the first time. I never cooked like as a kid or anything. Yeah. But then I started watching like on Snapchat. If you like scroll over to the Discovery section. Like,
Snapchat is what started it?
And like Tastemade and stuff. Yeah. They used to just have like, well, now you can just go on YouTube, but you could click through and like watch a 3-minute video of somebody making something. Like there were some awesome chefs on there that I follow still that made cooking look super fun. And my mom never made it look super fun because she's always cooking for 4 kids, and she was, already busy enough. So that made it look super fun. And then I just started getting into it, and it's really just about like, that feeling when everybody likes your food. I don't know. Yeah. It's kind of nice. Yeah.
I mean, it's not a good feeling when someone says they don't like it.
Yeah. Or they just like no comment. Yeah. But it's one of those things that I can like, I want constructive criticism. Like I want to be better. I want to try like every kind of cuisine and make it, and eventually be able to just do more things off the cuff. I still use recipes pretty constantly, but I'll just combine different recipes that I find online to like do something that I think I'd like. So I don't know.
No, I think with the internet is the ability to like, maybe a different of a generation thing from our parents to us, is how easy and like how maybe before it wasn't like you couldn't consume of like, not like an actual meal, but like the information of how to cook. Yes. It seemed more unattainable. Whereas like there's hundreds of YouTube videos or Snapchat videos or whatever, where it's like, no, this is easy. You just do this. It takes 5 minutes to learn. And like, it might not be a 5-star restaurant, but you can come pretty close. Yep. And what we have now.
With anything. Like, also, I would say Ratatouille was a really big inspiration. Isn't that like the best Pixar movie?
I've never watched it, so I can't.
Ooh, that's problematic, but highly recommend. But yeah, you can do anything just by looking it up on YouTube now. Like, that's where I'm going to learn how to make fluid art, and I'll probably do that for like a couple months and then never do it again. But it's still something that I can just pick up and make, just because a million people before are sharing their skills.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think that's totally cool because it helps people find their niche if they really find something that they want to go all in. True. Or it helps somebody maybe like you who's like, I want to try everything that's out there. Let me figure out how to do it, and go to Amazon and just, all right, I'm going to buy some stuff and let's try this out.
I know. It's super convenient. They're like, here's the cart of all the things you need. And you're like, great. But then you start thinking like, am I just a robot who's just doing that? It starts getting into the whole... The social people dilemma. Just telling me what to do at any given moment, and I'm just now doing it. Like, I'm pretty sure fluid art is like a trend, because when I was at the store, there was like only one pouring medium left. I'm like, oh, I think everyone's doing this right now. But
we talked about it a little bit when like the social dilemma came out and being manipulated by specific companies' algorithms. How do you feel about that potentially dictating or maybe steering your life a little bit?
I'm scared, because it's definitely steered my life. Yeah. I just keep thinking back to when we first had Facebook. I never had a MySpace. I was definitely one of those like stunted kids who just didn't know what was going on. Yeah. But I got Facebook in 8th grade, and there's a lot of times where I look back and think how different my life would have been if I never logged in 8th grade. Just because I just think I got sucked into that world, and I never really found a place in it in social media. Yeah. I still don't really use it super consistently. I just posted an Instagram story about this, but I don't know what compelled me to do that personally, because I never post really, but yeah, I totally think that the hold is there, and I usually try to stay away from it, but it's really addictive, and that's what everyone's doing. That's how they're sharing what they're doing in their life and how you learn things now. So you can't stay away.
I think there's a positive outcome, a potential positive outcome of social media. I think giving people ability to find hobbies is awesome. I think that is a really good outcome.
There's more than 101 ways to do it, or like cooking for dummies.
Yeah, and having everybody sharing their perspective or experience and helping, even if it is driven by an algorithm, it could still be used in a positive way. I think maybe the platforms that we have now are built more on a negative notion of steering negativity or people who making divides in like the way you think. I think that's maybe the issues of it. So I don't know. Maybe there's a hope for a successful social media that can't be so negative and maybe completely tear down a society like that we're going through right now.
Yeah, I think there is too. I mean, I think we already probably filter it to what we want to see anyway.
Yeah.
Like if I'm going on a trip, I'll go on Reddit and TripAdvisor, and they all have their perks there.
Yeah.
You just like have to find it for your need at the time and try to stay away from the scrolling that you could just endlessly do until you kind of end up in a bad place.
Yeah. I don't know if the negative thing is the news consumption sort of it and like all of these other things that aren't really positive in your everyday life of consuming. Because I was reading an article about how in the future everybody is going to just have these little online social bubbles, and like you're going to be confined to that, and it's going to be so weird of a future where there's going to be so many different perspectives that the truth is going to get blurred of like what's real or not real.
Okay.
And fact or fiction, because I don't know how to explain it. Not maybe outside of like a political or a news, these group of people are only going to consume a certain type of media or medium, and it's
just based on like the few things that
you're
the bubble
interested
knows
in.
about them.
Yeah,
that you're interested.
Yeah,
in.
and you're like whatever's happening in this social circle, like doesn't even exist to this person because they aren't consuming anything remotely close to that.
Yep.
And I don't know, it's going to be a weird future, I think, with that and other scientific steps of the brain chips, the the 4K. It's going to, and like the algorithms.
Whispering sweet nothings into your ear.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird to think because you can think of like an alternative lifestyle where you try to just stay out of it all. But I'm also kind of worried, like if I stay out of it too much, like I know that I want children one day and that's going to be their world.
Yeah.
Like I'm afraid to be too out of touch with it. I need to be armed and like ready for whatever is going to come in the future that is going to immediately have an influence.
So you mentioned that you wanted to have kids in the future. What, I don't know. I don't want to take that down to like a negative road from like the social media and like the potential like existential crisis of raising kids in the future. Do you know if there's a reason internally of why you want kids, or is that something that you've always thought of growing up, just kind of a part of life?
Just be one of my new hobbies.
I agree.
There's an experiment, right, Jake?
Yeah, it should be an experiment.
Definitely have always thought that I would want children.
Yeah.
Just when I was a kid, even that thought never left my mind.
Yeah.
Ever. Like, I know a lot of people grow up and they realize, oh, I have some independence and I want, independence for the rest of my life. But to me, I just think I'd love to share that with my offspring and have an opportunity to show them a little bit more of the world.
Yeah, that's cool.
Maybe more than I saw, but ultimately, I think it's just cool that you can have a family, and I don't know.
It's weird to think about. I think it's kind of terrifying.
It is horribly terrifying.
Maybe not of like the future risks of how the world's gonna be, but just like having a person that completely depends on you for and like their success or however you want to define it, of like ability to live and navigate the world is all completely based on you putting that
what
skill
you
set.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge burden.
Yeah.
Massive responsibility.
Yeah. Well, you can go down that path first. I'll see how it works out for you guys, and maybe I'll get there
when
eventually.
You're 50, you'll have a kid.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Oh God. Yeah, that sounds. I don't think so. I mean, maybe. I would like to have a kid. I think, just to put it on the record. Just to say that I would
keep the Welly name on.
I think I would like to have a kid. It sounds terrifying to think about right now in this time of my life.
I think it's meant to sound terrifying at any time of your life.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. That's gonna be my excuse for this moment.
Yeah. No, definitely. Like Tyler and I have been married almost 3 years now. I mean, obviously you don't marry someone without knowing if you both want to have kids.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those topics that, like, we get super excited 1 second, and the next second we're like, whoa.
It's a big deal. It's a big step. That's one of the biggest steps I feel like most people will take if they decide to go down that road and are very serious about it.
Yeah.
Because it is probably one of the biggest steps people take.
Yeah. Parenting just looks extremely difficult. And I think one of the reasons I've been dabbling in so many things leading up to like this whole past year, and then, you know, since we've been married, we're trying to kind of figure out who we are, but we know that we can't do some of the things that someone who's single or maybe untethered and not having children they can explore more and adventure, which we love to do, but we know that that's just gonna be different when we have children.
Yeah.
So we're trying to establish a little bit more of who we are, what we like, so we're not totally like flat and like don't have a lot to share with our children. But I also know like there's a ton we can keep doing.
Yeah.
When we have a family. I don't feel too held back by that.
Yeah.
I'm just really excited about the prospect of that.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it for sure.
Yeah.
With your guys' adventures or traveling, where all have you and Tyler been together? Because I know you guys went to Ireland for your honeymoon.
Yeah, our 1 year anniversary.
Your anniversary. Where else have you guys been? And what was your favorite place to be?
Ooh, good question. So we were just looking at this map the other day. For my gift from Tyler on our wedding day was like one of those scratch off world maps.
Yeah.
And we'll scratch off a state anytime we've been there together.
Okay.
So we were just looking at the other day. We scratched off Florida because we just went there for a quick trip.
Nice.
But we totally have a penchant for traveling. Like you said, we were at Ireland for our 1 year anniversary. That was 100% my favorite trip because we left the country, which I'd only ever done when we went to like the Dominican Republic for our honeymoon.
Okay.
So that was just, we owned the country of, South Ireland. We didn't go to the northern area.
Yeah.
And we just got to explore and, see the culture, which really isn't that much different. It's the Western culture. So, but it was just awesome.
What sets it apart for you from being in the places you've been into in the States? Why does that one kind of set out by itself as its own experience?
Probably because of its inaccessibility.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, the culture wasn't that different, but that probably was a once in a lifetime experience.
Yeah.
So we went to Utah. You and Morgan have been there this past year, and I know we're going to go back, and it's not going to be that difficult. It's just a plane ride away.
That's true. It is super easy to go anywhere in the United States.
Yeah.
It's less of a extensive planning that's required. It's I want to go there.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, cool. I'm just going to go there in a couple weeks by a plane to get it be done.
Yeah. Ireland was definitely one that we wanted to plan for since it could be once in a lifetime. We could certainly go back there again, but we want to go everywhere else too. So how do you justify going back to the same place over and over again?
Yeah.
Because that was our, family trips when we were young. We went to the beach every year, which I love the beach, but we see a lot by going to the same place repeatedly.
Yeah. You said you have a scratch off. Is it a world or
It's the world. Yeah. It's a lot of pressure to hit up some countries.
But it has the individual states.
Has the states and then the countries.
How many states have you guys been to together?
Oh, I should know this. I think it's something like 30.
30? Nice.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. One of my other favorite trips when we went to New Orleans for a weekend. It's just those like random weekend trips that you just pick up and go.
Yeah.
And we just spent the whole time on Bourbon Street. Like, probably don't remember half of it. Went to Severance Hall, or I think maybe I don't remember the name, but we saw some jazz musicians play. We had drank a ton of Hurricanes, and that is just a cool culture because there's art on the street and just jazz everywhere.
Yeah. I've never been there, so wander. I don't know.
Yeah, I totally recommend it. We got beignets from Café du Monde, which everyone says to go to, but you should see my review on Google for that. Because I was like, these were too greasy. So,
is there a way for people to look up your Google reviews to fully grasp all of them?
They're not hidden. You could look up my name, Amy Bernardy, on Google.
Is that how it works? You just search your name and like every review you've left you can find, or do you have to find a specific location?
You'd have to find it somewhere and then find me on there.
Gotcha.
Remember when Google tried to do like the equivalent of Facebook or whatever? I don't remember what it was called.
Is it Google Plus?
Maybe.
Oh no, I do.
It lasted for like a week.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, what are we doing here? But I'm sure you could look me up on there and find my reviews.
Nice. So, do you guys have any other big traveling plans?
Yes. I think you know about them. We're basically following in you and Morgan's footsteps. At this
Not
point.
quite. No way. You said, I mean, you have that book that you're looking for all the states.
Oh, yeah.
That you just recently got. But you said you were doing a loop. Is that the next one that you guys are doing?
I think so. Yeah, we go to Minnesota every summer. We drive like 12 hours up to where Tyler has family on his dad's side.
Yeah.
And every year it's a week-long lake trip, which love the lake, love the family. But this time we're going to take it a little step further. We're going to go to South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, and then touch Idaho. We want to make a bigger trip of Idaho and then head up Wyoming. So we'll head up Yellowstone, Badlands, 2 places we've never been.
Yeah.
We're trying to hit up all the national parks. I'm starting to collect pins for every park we go to.
Nice.
Yeah, you should get one while you're in Big Bend. Do you guys collect anything when you go on trips?
No. Morgan used to. She started doing like the shot glasses from everywhere we would go.
Oh, yeah.
But there was like, just got to be too much. And then we would forget to buy them at places. And it was like, what am I going to do with these 40 shot glasses that I have sitting around now?
You have 40 friends. Everybody have a tequila shot.
That's impossible. I don't think at this point in our lives we'll ever have that many friends that we would be that close to have shots with. So
yeah. Well, you just mix it up. You gotta cycle them through.
Yeah. But no, we don't collect anything. It's mostly, I think we do it through our photos and videos that we take.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of
Your YouTube videos.
Yeah, we have more fun with that. Making videos and taking photos and just having those. Because they're, I don't know, a little more way of our unique way of basically collecting things.
Yeah.
Each state.
That's what you saw when you were there. Like, that'll mean the most to you.
Yeah. So I had that idea of the scratch off map. I'm not trying to be like a one-upper here.
Okay. Your scratch off map is completely interactive. And
no, so I just I bought a big blow up map, and then we just print off a photo and then cut it out to the shape of the state and then glue it over the state.
Oh, that's fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I scratch it off and it's like gold scratch off, and one of the colors is tan. Like, you can't tell the difference. Like, whoever made this map wasn't like thinking about the color scheme. But I imagine that's gonna look pretty sick once you guys have hit up all the states. Do you know how many you've been together?
No, not right up top, because we're a little off from like what we kept track of not going to with each other.
Right.
But I think together we're right around 25.
Mm-hmm. That might be around where we are. Because I know my number. I guess I don't know our number.
Yeah.
I have 14 states left, but after this little loop we do, I'll have 7.
Yeah, that's huge. That's
Pretty
a cool trip. And it's not following our footsteps. We've never been to North Dakota. We barely hit Wyoming. We never been to Minnesota. It's basically South Dakota and Idaho is the only 2 we've been to.
Oh, I also think we'll touch Iowa. What's in Iowa? I haven't read about that one yet.
Nothing. I don't know.
There's tractors.
I can't say
like
because
Jake
we've never been there.
Worked at John Deere in Iowa, but we never made it up there for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Iowa, so I can't talk about that one. No, that's a cool trip. I love traveling. I think that's awesome because there is so much to see in this world. As you said, so little time, so many things. How can you even justify going back to a place twice? because there's so many options here. It's probably the same thing as Hobbies. You can't.
It is.
What's the next place where you just almost have to just spin a wheel because they're all going to be awesome? I mean, even in Iowa, you probably go there, find something super cool or niche about it, and be like, oh, I'm glad we went there. That was fun.
Yeah.
But let's go somewhere else because that was cool. Somewhere else might be cooler.
There's also something really cool to that familiar feeling, like, oh, we've been here and I know this awesome thing. Like our friend Caitlin, she knows Alaska like the back of her hand.
Yeah.
And she could tell people about it, and I'm sure that like feels nice to be able to share that. But I guess I could give people a good rundown of Ohio.
Yeah.
Like, Alexandria's and Findlay is pretty good. Should go there.
It is good. Yeah, great beer. And I don't know, like, so you watched Nomadland. You somewhat recommended it, and me and Morgan just watched it today. And because we have somewhat of that, maybe I don't know what I'm trying to think of. I like the idea of that lifestyle. It's interesting to me. It seems like there can be a glamorous side of it, but this movie was definitely not that.
No.
It was completely sad, and it made me more sad today. But to your comment of like being somewhere and like recalling a place, it was really crazy of when she went to the Badlands on that movie. And I was like, this feels weird watching this kind of a documentary style movie of like her navigating this place that we vividly recalled of like, I was at that exact same location that this person is in, and watching it on the screen in a movie was very weird. It was like, well, I know where she's at. This is crazy to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know what that is about, like the way we think about things of recalling places or giving people suggestions, or I don't know. It was really weird. I don't know why. I just wanted to bring that up because you recommended that movie, and it's like I had to like step back and just go, this is really weird just watching this play out, because I knew step by step where she was at, and like I could physically remember in my brain of us being there.
Yep. It's just the same reason, like you feel special when one of the Marvel movies is shot in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know that drug mart. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Or like we went to LA once, and I was on Hollywood Boulevard, and they were filming for a show, The Rookie, and I recognized one of the actors, and I was like, oh my gosh, I saw him in person. He was like 2 feet away from me, and just suddenly it just becomes so much more like real. But I feel like that's something, like that's one of the reasons Jonah's so into film, because he just likes the behind scenes of it all.
I don't know if exciting. What's that?
It just feels more exciting, like when you know every aspect of it.
I know, but should it be more exciting? So I'm trying to think of, like, should I be like super ecstatic about?
Like, I was in my footprint in the scene.
Yeah, then you think about it. So is a million other people.
Yeah,
but I don't know. It's
special.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take it.
Just take it.
Yeah.
We can't have all of our hopes and dreams crushed in any corner.
We could.
Okay.
Which you stay positive in most of your life. You have good outlooks. I do want to get into it a little bit. Why do you listen to sad music? What's with the sad music playlist?
I don't consciously listen to sad music. I think my Spotify just knows me. Sometimes I'm like really determined to be in a very low mindset, and I don't know why or what drags me there.
Yeah. But
it's totally an internal thing. But the next thing you know, I'll be listening to a bunch of sunny music, and I'll be screaming at the top of my lungs in the car. Like, I cannot control it. Spotify knows me. It's the algorithm that controls my life. So sometimes that's what I get recommended. Right now, first thing that shows up on Spotify is Paper Mountains by Jacob Welly.
Well, thank you for listening. I don't think after this episode, you've done your duty. You've listened to like talk it up. You wanted to be a guest, and now you can throw it all behind you and never look at it again.
Oh man, I'm gonna be one of your greatest marketeers. I'm gonna buy out a billboard in New Regal if they're not already bought out by your one friend.
That'd be hilarious, but completely unnecessary. Okay, we took it back. This is different now after having the headphones for the first half. Let's take the headphones off.
Yeah, if you're watching, there's no headphones on, and you can see my earrings now.
This is where it stemmed from. You wanted to show your earrings off.
Yeah, no, they're not the ones I wanted to wear, but I couldn't find the other one. The other ones were birds.
Yeah.
I actually bought the same pair of earrings 3 times because I kept losing them,
Yeah.
but I still don't know where my latest pair is.
I should get my ears pierced, I think.
You should. And your tragus.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. I would get a nose ring before that one.
You'd be really good at like a medieval fair.
What?
Like you could pull it off. Like it wouldn't just be just with the longer hair. You got options like for braiding and putting feathers at the end of it with beads.
Yeah, I guess so. I think I'm just gonna keep growing the hair out. Maybe I'll get some tattoos.
What's the limit? When do you get the sleeve?
Like the tattoo sleeve?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's funny. I always wanted a tattoo sleeve, like in high school.
Yeah.
It's kind of faded away more recently. I think it was when my, I don't know, rebellious years were at an all-time high of saying, like, F you to the man.
So you think tattoos are rebellious?
As a teenager, and now it's like doesn't.
No,
It's not
an
there.
Accessory.
It's not there as like a reason for me to get them, whereas maybe 8 years ago it was.
Yeah. So you have no tattoos though.
0. Yep. Yeah, that's most people's responses because they'd be like, "I would have expected you to be a person who have tattoos."
At least one. Like, but you have to like go the whole motion.
I can't make that commitment. I'm terrible at making commitments. This is like,
oh yeah. Even this podcast today. One second we got it planned, the next second I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Not once have you just been like, this is happening, and then it happens.
It's I don't know. I'm like I said, I don't like being a flake, so I just can't commit.
I don't know what's more annoying to people though, you being a flake or just never committing. Because like I told you, I have a theory that people who don't commit are just waiting for something better to come along.
Yeah, I
want to keep myself open. Yeah. Because I'm probably going to get invited to this sick party.
Yeah, I think
hang out with you.
The unfortunate thing is that's what box I'm getting put into. It's not the reasoning for me not committing.
Well, maybe you just need to be clear when you tell people why you're not committing. Like, hey, nothing personal.
But I have high stress levels when I have to make decisions and I don't.
And you don't like anything that gives you a high stress level. Yeah,
no, I do to some extent. I think it's my job. I think I'm consistently trying to make decisions all day. Mm-hmm. When I don't have to.
Well, that's just not fair to the people.
I don't want to.
If you make the decisions at work, but you don't make it for your relationships and your outside life. You're making
it sound terrible now.
No, it's a lot easier to talk without the headphones. We can just cut out the first hour.
I thought it went fine. I'm keeping it in. I'll see when it goes.
That wasn't actually me. That was me with headphones on. That's a different person.
It's fine. If you did, I'm sorry you didn't enjoy the headphones. It's a different experience.
You should burn them. So, just my thoughts.
You're the first person that even acknowledged it as being a weird feeling.
Yeah. Well, I'm too in my head, so.
Yeah, I don't play video games, but Troy said he's like, this is just like playing Xbox live where you're talking to people. He's like, so it didn't really seem that weird to him.
That just reminded me of Tyler's been playing video games more with his friends online. So he's always on Discord upstairs, and I'm always be like, babe, from like downstairs. And he doesn't answer me. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And I'm like, Tyler. And at this point I know. So all of his friends have heard me just screaming, and he doesn't hear me at all.
Because he got headphones on?
Because he's got headphones on.
Is he live streaming, and is he going to be a Twitch or a YouTube streamer?
Oh, no. I think every once in a while he like shows his friends his Stardew Valley and his wife. I think his name is Rachel or Leah or something. But yeah, I don't know. They played golf with friends last night. That's apparently a trend now. So.
Online? Like a game?
It's literally called Golf with Friends. But it looks pretty fun. Just,
do you have any video games that you get into other than what the hell was the one?
Animal Crossing.
Is that still up there? Or is that was a fad?
That was everything is a fad with me, unfortunately. But Animal Crossing was like, it's something I played in my childhood, and then they came out with the Switch version right when the pandemic hit. So it was awesome because you could play live. I could visit my friends' villages. Like, it was my way of socializing with people. But then I planted a bunch of flowers because there's like a hybrid flower option.
Yeah.
And my entire, like, Tyler and I split the island in half. my entire half is flowers. So I haven't been on it in 8 months because I didn't want to deal with it. Like, you have to dig up each flower, like one by one. You don't even have a clue, man. No. That was more maintenance than my real life at one point.
I didn't even know it was a game from the past. So, like, there was this nostalgia factor for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea. I just thought it was a new game.
Was our main system. Did you play video games?
Nope. No, we weren't allowed to.
Weren't allowed to? Because the devil created them?
Maybe. Yeah, parents didn't like the idea of us just sitting down.
Wasting away.
Pretty much.
That's fine. That's a perfectly good reason. I know, like, my parents definitely had rules around that, and I didn't ever need them to be enforced. It was just, like, in the summertime, each of my siblings would take turns, like, for an hour playing Animal Crossing, and then the other, like, 8 hours a day we'd be outside, but we just had to play that daily.
Yeah. The things, like, my cousins had, like, game consoles and stuff, and, like, we'd always be stoked to go over there because we'd play PlayStation.
Oh, yeah. It's like my friend who couldn't eat Pop-Tarts. If she came over to our house, she'd always get some Pop-Tarts.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, yeah, I can go do that thing that I'm not allowed to do. Mm-hmm. But eventually one of my cousins bought us a Game Boy, and that was game over. We played that thing nonstop.
Till it was smoking.
No smoking, but, like, as endless batteries, like, stay up as late as we could.
Yeah.
Playing Pokemon and Tony Hawk on the Game Boy and a bunch of random other ones.
That doesn't make you want to try and pick those games up now, and just for nostalgia's sake.
I did actually in college with Pokemon.
Yeah.
When they had a RIP app version, like the exact same replica. Somebody just coded it up and put it on like an iTunes download, and you could play the Game Boy right on your phone.
That's cool.
So that was it, but since then, no, not really.
Yeah. No, in general, I definitely don't find myself being drawn to video games as one of the things I do in my free time, but I do binge TV.
Yeah.
And I have to enforce that on myself.
You watch a lot of TV.
Yeah.
not like to say that is a bad thing. Give me some of, like, tier list of TV shows that you've watched recently that you would recommend to people that are superior or ones that are completely garbage. Like, what comes to your head when you think of TV?
Well, it totally depends on the person, so it really wouldn't be fair to make recommendations.
Just all for you, based on your interest. Like, don't even care about what other people might think. Say, this was awesome for me, this one sucked for me.
I guess recently I can think of, like, my top favorite show, and it's everyone in the world's top favorite show, and that's The Office.
Okay.
I, like, wish my life was The Office sometimes. I wish my boss was Michael Scott. And I already work with a Dwight. You're the Dwight. Just kidding. You're not like Dwight.
I was like,
we know a Dwight, though.
Who's Dwight? We don't need to name names because I don't know.
We don't have any Dwights. We just have people who are different in our workplace.
Yeah. Well, I say we did that before actually with our old group. We all took like the office
BuzzFeed
test.
quizzes.
Yeah. I've seen who we are. This might have been somewhat accurate.
Yeah, pretty much. Though, as far as TV goes, anything created by like Mike Schur, and which just anything that's comedy, it entices me.
Okay.
It's the best escape is just laughing your ass off at some joke written by Tina Fey or Amy Poehler.
So Office.
Darling.
What else is up there with it?
Oh, Parks and Rec, obviously. Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Those are all like in the same realm.
Okay.
But they're my favorites. Like, I've watched so many shows.
Where's
like Malcolm in the Middle is up there.
Where's the Big Bang Theory in this list? Because that's
not in there at all.
I said that's pretty.
I never watched it because I don't watch shows with laugh tracks.
Okay, I was gonna ask.
Laugh tracks are shit. Like, what is that? Can you imagine being like in the audience of those shows? You're like, I have to laugh now, and they have to pause, or even being the actor who has to pause.
Well,
because they have to laugh.
I'm pretty sure, most of those are fake.
Oh, they're mostly not live audiences, you're saying?
Yeah. It's mostly just like a digital track that they put in post. And
just like hurts. Because it could be good, but people loved it. That had like a cult following.
I know.
People love, and it has the spinoff that was super successful of like the Mini Sheldon or whatever. I've watched half an episode and I couldn't watch it.
Did that laugh track as well?
Yeah. Or no, The Big Bang Theory.
Oh, I thought you meant like
I actually probably haven't even given it if I had a chance.
I got into it when I was younger, but like I hate laugh tracks as well.
Yeah.
I hate most sitcom-based shows.
It.
But like there is one that I did enjoy growing up was that 70s show.
Mm-hmm.
God damn, I did like that show, but I'm pretty sure that one had laugh tracks.
It did. But it was such a different show, though. Yeah. That sometimes those can squeak through and it's fine. But for the most part, like that'll nix the show from the get-go.
Yeah.
Though on Netflix now they have a ton of originals on there. None of them have laugh tracks, but they're all purposefully addicting. Like I watched one called Ginny and Georgia, which is like the top one on Netflix in the last 3 weeks or so.
Okay.
And it's just complete smut, but it's there to just draw you in. Yeah. And Netflix has this thing now where they can make anything as long form as they want. Mm-hmm. Like they're not strictly sticking to the 23 or 42 minutes. They can just put it out there, and to me that means there's like no pressure to like edit it properly or even write it properly.
Oh,
because
I disagree.
They're just throwing it. Well, okay, yes, there's two sides to it, but sometimes like you can tell they're like lazy with the final product.
Oh yeah,
because they don't have that restriction.
I agree 100% now. Actually, let me pull it back. I think that that platform. There's way more content being created now, and I think it's gonna be harder to find like good television because there's gonna be 12 to 20 options that are garbage, whereas like even 5-10 years ago there was like 5 options of like series that you're gonna watch that were like really worth anybody's time. Yeah. And now you have 2 or 3 a month coming out on Netflix, Disney Plus, HBO Max, all making their own original content. Whereas it's like there's so much more to choose from. Mm-hmm. But I think if you find that one, it's like it lets the creative writing process or like it be its own project and not be withstand to any bounds, which makes things better. Mm-hmm. Which I think miniseries might be leading that way a little bit, or like limited series. Like, no, I'm writing this one story and that's it.
Yeah.
It's 8 episodes and I'm done. But like, whereas if it was conventional, I think it would be more tied down to, well, we're not even going to fund this project because we want 5 seasons out of it that are 30 episodes. Mm-hmm. So like that idea would never come to fruition in the past. So like kind of like the teeter and totter, I would say, of like why I would agree but also disagree.
Yeah. I agree. There's a lot of distractions that could take you away from what's good, but there's just so much that you don't know right away.
Have you ever watched Breaking Bad?
No. Okay. I know I'm supposed to. It's one of those shows like you have to watch it because
it's not a comedy
nothing comparable.
But like you enjoy the comedy.
Yeah, I know. There's not a lot of dramas. I watch This Is Us, and so does the rest of the female population of the world. But that's like as dramatic as it gets for me.
Well, you watched like all those the new ones on Netflix too, right? The Queen's Gambit.
Yeah. I guess
I didn't watch that one.
Queen's Gambit was good.
You watched the other one you guys were talking about. Me and Morgan started it, but didn't get into it.
Gosh, you remember more about what I consume than I do because I consume it at that high of a rate that I can't even remember what I've watched. I've already moved on.
Okay.
Like I started watching Gilmore Girls, and I know I announced this at lunch the other day, but I'm done. Yeah. Like I cut it off.
That's good.
Like it's good to get to a point where you can start cutting things off because there is so much out there. Like you have to take some time back for yourself. Like I calculated it. I saved 80 hours by cutting off Gilmore Girls where I did. So now I can go spend that 80 hours on something else now.
Okay. You're in the Marvel series now.
Yes. I'm committed to that because it's such a like well built out thing now.
Is it, as you're going through this more thoroughly with Tyler, has it raised the bar for Marvel movies, or has it lowered the bar from what you thought it was when you were watching them passively?
Oh, it's raised the bar.
So it's better now.
I definitely thought superhero movies were kind of a joke, and I never went out of my way to watch them. Yeah. But you can tell that there was a lot of thought put in when they filmed everything, because we're watching it in timeline order. Yep. Which means that things were filmed in separate order, but the way we're watching it is very logical. Like, they definitely were thinking this through from the first film that they had, and to make sure that the whole world connects. I'm sure I could go on Reddit and find a bunch of people who are like, continuity error, like, this is a problem, and stuff. But, like, it actually is really cool, and they took the comics and that, like, entire world that people loved and brought it to life. So I would recommend you watching it, actually. Like, it's not, like, groundbreaking at all times, but it's definitely entertainment.
So I know you already know the ending to the first series finale, I guess, whatever you call it, like this phase of Marvel movies.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't all about it as they were coming out, but you watched
Right.
some of the movies. Where are you guys at right now in the timeline?
Pretty much Hydra has just, like, revealed themselves. So that whole organization that took over S.H.I.E.L.D., I don't know. Like, why did you ask? You're just, like, looking at me like,
I thought you were going to say a specific movie.
Oh, no. We're watching the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which
Okay.
is a show they started, I don't know what year they started coming out with it.
Yeah.
But I know when they started coming out with it, the timeline was, like, way behind from when the movies were. So we are only watching, like, certain episodes between certain movies.
Gotcha.
So we're, like, 2 seasons into that, and it's, like, a 7-season thing. But, like, after, like, 2 more episodes, I think we're watching the next movie.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, we just finished Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
Okay.
Which is still pretty early on in the timeline.
It's so much of a time commitment.
Yeah, I think we calculated out it was like 127 hours. I don't know if I'm saying that because it's just.
This is back to your engineering skill set of driving you, like you calculating your hours of commitment and how to.
Yeah.
You can watch these 4 episodes in this movie tonight, and then.
You act like my life is so planned out.
Is it
I
not?
heard you trashing all the people who plan things when they go to vacations in your past podcasts, but I don't plan it to a T. I just want everyone to have the best experience possible without it being like.
I
generic.
might have. I'm not intending to trash you on that perspective. My issues
what's
with
your political opinion on this?
my political opinion. I don't want, if you have a plan and you're on a traveling basis, I don't want like being locked into that plan.
Yeah, I mean, me neither. I'm the same way. I just want to know what's out there. Like Ireland,
Yeah.
like we're not gonna go back there for 3 decades or whatever.
Yeah.
We wanted to see what we were supposed to see.
Yeah.
We just had booked 5 Airbnbs ahead of time, and then scheduled it around that.
Yeah.
But I can't go into it completely blind because I don't know, obsess while I'm there or something.
Yeah. That's why I think if we like, I'm like stuttering and like losing my train of thought with traveling and going places is in a book I read, like the 4 Hour Work Week, of backwards, and I don't like. That's like kind of like maybe if it came off as trashing it, because there's so many things to take in. It's impossible to get everything that's worth getting in a 2-week time frame going to Ireland, right?
And actually relax.
It's virtually impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly the relaxation piece of it is like, I think it might be more of an American or a United States trait of people of never really turning that stress level off, is because we want to take that consumption.
Everything.
Yeah.
But America has so much to offer, but it does feel like we're so separated. Like I get envious of all the people on the Great British Baking Show who were talking about how they just had like a casual weekend where they traveled to 3 different countries.
Yeah.
Like, we don't really have that access.
It's the same in the states and countries over there, though.
You think so?
Yeah, the
but
size
each country
bases.
has its own history and culture.
Yes.
Where our states, like, do you think we really have
just
that
younger.
much like culture
It's
comparatively?
younger.
Like,
No.
it
I agree.
feels
Yes.
similar from state to state.
Yeah, but we're a young country.
Yeah.
It's like, a couple hundred years old.
We'll ask Troy how young the country is.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And it's the same thing. It's just their countries are so small, though. And they can go border to border so easily.
Yeah.
Like, the U.S. is huge.
And they're really accessible to Asia.
Yeah, you're on the same continent, the side of the world already.
Yeah.
I think that I'm guilty of it, of traveling places and wanting to go do this. Let's hit up all these places as much as possible. And then like you do that and you kind of lose reason of like why you're taking a vacation because now all of a sudden you're stressing yourself out of trying to do all of this. And that's just where I think what maybe as like a big picture thing of how lives are going to be lived or jobs are going to be held in the future is going to shift in that direction. Like, I think the idea of retirement is going to completely change because of people like us and like the technology around us that give us more of ability, and we can see so many things and consume so many things. It's like, why am I here? Whereas like 50 years ago, people just didn't ask that.
That's a good point.
It was just like people didn't think about it because it was like, well, this is what my parents did. They worked their job and then they did this. But I think I don't know if it's a revolt or like people are going to start rejecting more and more the traditional way of looking at things. Be like, hey, I have some money now. I'm just going to quit my job and not work for 2 years. Yeah. And then, which is like outlined in the 4-hour work week of just mini retirements.
Yeah.
Of looking at your life like that. Hey, I want to do this and I have some capital saved up and I can do it and I have every ability to, so why don't I just do it? And I don't know if it's going to be mini retirements, and I've now talked to other people offline about like that specific idea of living your life. That will move mainstream. I fully believe that into the future.
Think that's going to take hold in the future?
I don't know the exact structuring of it, but I think that like idea is just people are going to want more and more of it, and the whole culture is going to have to shift around it. That's what I think.
So I guess I have to think like the biggest motivator for people who do say I'm going to work 30 years until I retire is like, I don't want to have to work when I'm 60, 70, 80 years old. Like, you don't want to have to worry about yourself in the future. So like, I think like for me, that's even a huge motivator for having like present day stability and not just saying, F it, I'm just going to go travel and spend my funds. Like, I still want to have that security for myself, my future self. Like, do you think that's going to go away? Like, how do you also worry about your future self while
I think
taking breaks?
My
like
thought is like, why even retire? What is like, why don't like we sit at desks like like you can be 80 years old and have a job. Like, it doesn't take any physical activity to do our job whatsoever.
Yeah, and I guess you think about the men, I say men, but I'm sure it happens to men and women, they retire and then shortly after they pass away.
Yeah. Because
they did kind of lose a thing, like a routine of what they were doing.
Yeah.
So I guess why can't the routine just be work, break, work, break?
So I think what I like to think about is so we're younger now and are pretty much at our peak physical capability, and we have jobs where we only use our mental ability.
We use the most of our ability and capacity on.
Yeah, and it's completely backwards, in my opinion, of like, shouldn't you be more mentally active when you're older because your physical ability is declining? Whereas I can go hike a mountain, or I can go sailing, or I can go rowing now because I'm interested in it, and not buy a sailboat for retirement, because like physically it's going to be more difficult at retirement to learn how to sail, because you're like, holy shit, I can't do this anymore. Yeah. My knees don't work. I can't stand up. You know, it's like I'm getting exhausted after 20 minutes of activity. Whereas like so these things that people are passionate about now at a young age is like, you're going to be physically limited at a traditional retirement age. And I think that's overlooked in a lot of cases. And by the time you get to that age, you're going to be like, oh, I feel like a lot of people are just like, okay, well, I'm just going to keep working then, because they don't know what to do now.
Despite the fact that they worked to give themselves a break because
and after you've conditioned your brain for 30 years of working, you're kind of like, I don't know what to do now because I've never done anything else.
Yeah.
And you've gotten that routine, and I've seen it, and I've talked to other people who they saw it firsthand from people that they see or their family members. They get to retirement age and they go, wife passed away, my family's out doing their thing and they moved away, and I'm kind of stuck here in this town and don't have any friends anymore because I work so much. It's like kind of so sad. And like, but it's like, so I think there's going to be more of a shift. It's got to, because people are so aware now and they think about these things.
They're more interested in actually living their life.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Maybe I could be completely wrong on that, but I'd
like to see the shift.
Yeah.
I think I'm just concerned, like, how do you... Yeah, the shift, for me, it would be hard to make the mental change of that future, not knowing what the future is. And I'm probably just thinking too big picture in a given moment. Yeah.
And that's definitely a legitimate issue to have, but you can never know the future, right? So it's how can
I think
you...
I have a secret box that I just have to shake a ball or something. I don't know.
I think it's too hard to try controlling it. And that's just where I'm at with it. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I could be completely wrong.
No, I think you're right. And I would love to adopt that philosophy. I always feel like something holding me back. And part of that is that I know I'm going to have a family to support.
Yeah.
So it kind of sets me more on the typical path.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to just leave and do something else or move somewhere else with not really knowing what the future is.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it would take to like create that exodus.
It's hard.
In my own life.
Yeah.
But I totally support anybody who's able to do that.
I know we had this conversation actually at lunch about like wanting to have the right conversations with the right people. That from my perspective of basically spending my time or going through that effort of, because you said if you did a podcast, you would want to reach out to everybody and kind of do it with anybody and everybody.
Yep.
And maybe that's the right way of looking at it. I think it's almost too hard to do that. And it takes a lot of time. I mean, just set this whole thing up, get it ready, try to have somewhat of a preparation for it and going with the right headspace is like, and then with having our full-time job, you can't do like 2 a day because of like the amount of people that and really take it away. But I don't know, I would consider us on a friend basis, and I thought it would be fun.
We're friends. Good to know. Let's put that on the record.
Yeah.
After like 2.5 years.
Yeah, it took a while. I don't make commitments to any friendships or anything for a while, so no, and I wanted to look at it as a way to have something for like people I talk to.
Yeah. To
look back on it and think of a situation or like your time of your life and how different it was now in 5 to 10 years from now.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong.
I'm sure it'll be different.
Yeah.
5 years from now.
Yeah.
But, all right. Well, thanks for having me. Don't know if I said that before.
You want to wrap it up there? Because you don't want to get into other questions. Is that it?
No. Talk about anything. Go really deep into my childhood. Let's not.
All right. Let's start going in that direction of kind of bringing some of the topics back to a culmination of and ideas. Maybe getting a little bit of introspective on life and happiness and everything else, if that's cool with you.
Yeah, we can go that direction.
I'm putting you on the spot because we're recording, so I know that you're going to have to say yes.
All right. That's fair. But also no. No is my new answer.
We mentioned the mechanical engineering being a major shift or a major moment in your life, pivotal moment, whatever you want to call it. Has there been any other experiences in your life that have stood out in your past of kind of shifting your life direction?
Pivotal moments? Well, I'd have to say like the second anybody decides to get married, that's a really pivotal moment in their life.
Yeah.
Because you're really committing to one person and you're building something out of that.
Yeah.
So I'd say not even just the wedding day, but like the moment you decide that you're going to marry somebody was a big moment.
How long before you and Tyler got married? I think we maybe briefly mentioned this in passing before. You guys talked about marriage before getting married, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was this before engagement?
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
How
and I
like far early in the relationship before marriage was that being discussed?
being discussed. Maybe like I started talking about it after dating for maybe a year and a half. We also knew each other for about 2.5 years before we even dated.
Yeah.
I know you're laughing because
I'm completely.
I mean, you've been in a relationship for a really long time.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's totally different for everybody.
Mhm.
But for us, like we both know, like one of the things that we wanted in life is children, and
yeah,
it's something that you want to talk about when you're in a relationship with somebody earlier on, whether you're like ready to or not, if that's something that you want. So
you were dating for 2.5 years. What's this in like a comparison or a scale of like your marriage? So like, was this 5 years before getting married? Or like kind of, I'm now like kind of going backwards and forwards with timing perspectives.
Well, I guess I'll just tell you we got engaged after dating for about 2.5 years.
Okay.
So we were engaged at 2.5, and then we got married a year later.
Okay.
So.
And you've been married for?
Almost 3 years.
3 years.
So the whole tally is about 6 years-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
that's we've been friends.
I would say that's probably a median. I'm not going off of any research basis of that notion, but I would say, I don't know. It seems like an average number. Like it's not like super early, but it's not like super late either.
Yeah, like maybe for some people it would be super early.
Yeah.
But like in the environment where we were,
yeah,
that's not early at all. So it's totally normal.
Was it just you guys 100% clicked and knew that was it?
Yeah, it was just that. You just know that's the person that, it's not just clicking. It's having a ton of the same shared morals, values, goals,
that's clicking.
dreams.
That's the same thing as clicking.
Yeah, but I mean, we are in many ways we're super different people.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of knowing like that's the person that you're willing to go through it all with.
Yeah, that's clicking. I mean, that's what I meant by clicking. If that's not the way you took it.
Yeah.
Of maybe. Like, I mean, if some people say if you know, you know. Yeah. And that's like kind of what.
I mean, it wasn't like at first sight I'm like that's the guy I'm gonna marry, but he actually was like the second dude I met at school.
Yeah. Yeah.
But.
Do you, second due to school, do you believe in any sort of destiny or fate in life?
In life in general?
In any situation, do you think that there might be a predetermined path or like this was supposed to happen?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
That definitely could have been something that was influenced by that. I mean, but then you can go like butterfly effect back to the day I was born and look at everything that led up to that moment. So in some ways we do not control our destinies, but I think in most of the ways we do.
Yeah. Okay. So you think there might be a potential for it? Kind of. Well, that's where I kind of. Do I think that there's a predetermined path or like destiny?
Yeah. I mean.
I don't.
No.
No.
Yeah.
I think there was another podcast I recommended to you a while ago where they kind of got into that. And that's maybe a light bulb moment of me agreeing with that outlook on life was like where they were talking about the scientist was saying how he thinks it is completely randomized and like there's nothing that happens for a reason. And instead of looking at that negatively, that should be looked at more positively. And I took that going forward 100% as like a way of explaining it, because I think that should be looked at as almost more crazy and more of an awesome thing that like your life is here if it is completely random. Not saying that I think that either way is right or wrong.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be one way or the other.
Yeah, but I just think that there's too many. If we have free will, then there's too many outcomes to say like one path was supposed to happen. But maybe there is. I don't fucking know.
Well, I think for the pure fact alone that you think like tomorrow you could change your whole life. Like there'd be a lot of factors that would affect it, but tomorrow you could make the conscious decision to do so.
Have you ever watched Ex Machina?
No.
Okay.
Is that a show or?
It's a movie.
Movie.
It dabbles in that idea of questioning your existence and your reality with an AI robot. Was like that AI, is this predetermined code? Or like, is free will exist, or is it because you were coded to think that? And it kind of really messes with your head of like, if you up and leave tomorrow, is that because you were coded to do so?
But we won't up and leave tomorrow. We just want the thought that we can, and that was in our code.
Yeah, exactly. And then maybe in that one decision that you do up and leave tomorrow, that was what was predetermined. It's very.
I don't know. Ooh, it's getting meta.
Mm-hmm.
I
don't know. I think I like thinking about it, but it's also hard for anybody. You can't realistically grasp that concept. I don't think it's impossible from our capacity to really. Anybody who says that they truly understand that, I think they're lying to themselves or the person they're talking to. They take themselves
real dang seriously.
Yeah,
to think that they know.
With like that trailer of things happening for a reason or destiny, paralleled is the topic of ghosts.
Ghosts.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we were talking about that last week.
I don't want to bring it up because we didn't really go into it.
Oh my gosh, I think ghosts are real. I'm pretty sure, but I wouldn't say like I could open up. Like, there's a ton of books out there about how ghost stories lived on in certain historical towns or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if I believe all those, but I definitely have some sort of spiritual beliefs.
Do you want to get into any
there
of your...
was a moment that I told you about that you said to save it for the pod.
Yeah.
So, all right. So it was a time that my siblings and I probably was maybe around 9 years old, and my siblings and I are like 3 years apart, but we were all in my parents' pool, and it's just like a perfectly calm day. The sun's out, whatever. My brother like threw a ball up in the air to throw and hit across the pool.
Okay.
And then suddenly, like, as he threw it up in the air, it just moved up into the sky as though there was like a huge wind.
Was there no wind?
I don't remember this part.
Okay.
I don't remember if there was wind.
Okay, go on. Sorry.
But anywho, in the pool, there was also like a dolphin raft and like a life-size life raft.
Yeah.
They all flew up in the air as well. The life raft probably flew like 50 feet over and 50 feet up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And the dolphin flew in, and they all flew up out of the pool, and then they all flew back in the pool. And it was super wild, and we were like, okay, what just happened? Because we don't remember there being a gust of wind, but it was just very sudden. Everything went out, came back in. And Mom comes out and she's like, what just happened, right? Mm-hmm. And then we find out the next day that somebody who was really close to our family had passed away. Like at the same time this happened.
Okay.
And my aunt's house, like she had a windmill like made out of wood. Very sturdy thing. It fell over that day. She lives like weird. 25 miles away, right? I
got slight chills of okay, this is weird.
The woman's name's Rita, and my mom's name's Rita.
Yeah.
She was gone during this time. So we took this as a way, like, maybe we were searching for it, but we also kind of saw it as a sign from this woman who was, like, really close to our family who died way too early, breast cancer, that she was saying goodbye. And it's just one of those things that, like,
how old were you at this situation?
I was like 9,
maybe.
But my siblings are all older and they remember it too.
Yeah, that's weird. Okay.
It's just, I don't know like any other like chilling moments like that I can specifically point to without being skeptical about my own time. But like that was so many of us experienced it that it made me really always believe from that point there was some spiritual presence, and it's like okay to look for signs. There's a lot of stories of people finding signs when their loved ones pass away.
Yeah.
That remind you of them, and I don't know. I like believing in that, so
yeah.
I'm not looking to be disproven, but
Where's
there's comfort there.
how does that play into like a bigger perspective of on life and death? Do you believe in an afterlife or a heaven or anything of that matter?
Uh, it's a big question.
Yeah, it's a loaded question for sure.
Yeah.
It might be like the question might have bringing unintentional baggage, I guess, from like a terminology basis.
Right.
In general, if you have a potential belief in ghosts, how does that play into this realm of reality?
Oh.
Like, I feel like if you believe they're mutually exclusive, in my opinion. You have to believe in some sort of other reality or other afterlife if you believe in ghosts. That's my thought.
I might say I believe in ghosts now, but in a minute I might not believe in ghosts because I don't want to try and explain something like that.
Okay.
But I don't know. I just think there's a difference between people being a ball of cells and just expiring one day to maybe being a ball of cells attached to a soul.
Yeah.
And I think there's a soul, and I think there's a separation when you die. And I don't know what happens to that soul when you die, if it stays on Earth or if it goes to purgatory or if it goes to a heaven or some location or if it just exists somewhere peaceful or not.
Yeah.
But I kind of just choose to believe that. I probably haven't done like a ton of research into determining that. I've been told to believe there's a heaven, but I know there's I don't know. I don't know what that's going to look like.
I'm not asking to like make you think that you have to do a ton of research on like the fact of if
I'll
it's
get back
or
to you
not.
on that.
It's more of a I don't know if you ever thought of it or not. And it sounds like you have at some level of
Do you just think we're going to just when you die, you're gone and that's that?
Yeah, I don't know. Have some internal debates about that thought that I've had of yes, in the past I've thought yes, in the past I've thought no. And now I'm like it's so hard of a question to ask legitimately to come to surface and say, especially if we're going on to like a recorded version of like, did I actually think that? Because I don't know what I think. I'm so like, I'm just like,
I
maybe
already
too stupid
reneged
for
on my
this.
ghost thing.
So I don't know. I think it's interesting when I hear the people talk about some sort of an energy basis and more of like a spiritual level of trying to reach an equilibrium of some sorts of life versus death. And that is, but like the hard thing that I have a hard time grasping on is like, okay, so what sort of scale is this subject to? Because I don't think that can only be applied to Earth, because we have scientifically found out that this scale needs to be applied much more of a decentralized way of the universe than what it has been through the past. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like it's still a very egocentric way of saying if we're confined to this Earth, that would mean essentially that we have a morality basis that's revolved around the Earth solely. And that just seems impossible to me. Like, why would that be the case?
It's all about us, Jake. It's all about Earth.
Yeah. And I mean, when you've been out west and you saw the stars and like you can really get a clear grasp of
how small we are.
Yeah, and how crazy it is. And I think of that a lot of times when going outside of, I don't know who has the thought experiment, but I thought of it one time, or I've heard it one time, and I think about it going outside of like, if you need a system or a practice to like really diminish your ego, is you just basically keep taking yourself and putting it into a perspective of your exterior of like, all right, so I'm here and I'm in my head right now. And then I pull it out. You just keep thinking about your situation and pulling it out one step at a time. And it's like, I'm in this house. I'm in the United States. I'm on the Earth. And then like all of a sudden you come into a situation where like you look at it from a telescope lens of where you're at out here, and you're just this one little pin in this universe of like, what's the purpose? And like, kind of probably why it brings it back to me of like why there might not be a reason. You're looking at me like I'm insane.
No, man, no. I'm just thinking it's a dangerous thought process to go down. So I don't know, you're making me think about how like most people are pretty narcissistic. And even like I'm sitting here and like the fact that I'm talking about myself makes me feel like really narcissistic because I am just this like one tiny little pin on the map. And like, what does my existence mean to anything else?
Yeah.
But it's what you make of it, and like you have to think of it from your perspective, because why would we always be thinking about it from the external perspective?
Yeah, and I don't like want to this like series or show to think about like what other people like that you need to make a message for other people. I do want it to only be like an experience for yourself to look back on. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
I don't like who cares if, but like it great if you think that if there's one or two other people or 5 or 20 people that there might be one's thought that might be instilled on someone else to make their life more positive, then why not?
Yeah.
Great. That's a plus, but like we're just here trying to battle our own life. So that's all that you can do.
Yeah.
So if that happens to be a positive experience or a positive thought that someone else can learn from or take away from that, then that's all the better to have it. And not be a narcissistic way of thinking that you have to do this.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I didn't have this like planned for like this episode, but I've been reading this meditation book or philosophy book, and we kind of got there with that same thought, and I took a note from this sentence or from this chapter, and I wrote it out because I wanted to somehow bring in an idea to it or look back on it in the future. So I'm going to read it, and I want to get your thoughts on it.
All right.
So, it is not selfish to live your life as you see fit. The selfishness lies in the demand that someone else lives a life to suit your tastes or pride or your profit or pleasure. So I think that's kind of where we got to that same idea of a basis of, I don't think it is selfish to live your life or like have conversations like this or think about it. The issue is if you think that your way is the right way and there's a right way and a wrong way.
Also where the dangers of parenting comes into play.
Interesting. I didn't look at it from a perspective of parenting.
Yeah, it automatically made me think of parents who force ideologies on their children, which for so many years, that's all your children know, and you have to. But
wow, that is crazy. That took that sentence to a whole other level for me. Of work, I was looking at it from like people with already established thoughts and brains and like having that conversation, but like, is it selfish to instill your values on your children? Oh God,
that is the question.
That's a deep question now.
Yeah.
Is it immoral? Is it immoral now to have children? Looks like you just talking about having kids, Amy.
We should just end the population of the world starting today.
Oh, wow.
No one have children.
That's a good thought experiment.
Yeah, and
that's crazy.
And
you
that's
took that
such a huge burden for someone who chooses to bring people into the world.
Yeah,
that's not a sin to want to bring someone to the world, but that's such a huge burden to like. How do you help? How do you not force things on them, but also you don't want to set anybody up for failure?
Let me look at it again. I think that all that you can do as a parent is try to do what you think is right, but also if you teach in an open mindset, then the values or selfishness isn't there because it's not in pursuit of your own pride or pleasure. I think if you're truly selfless in that act, then like if you really pull back if you want to raise your child in like a religious setting or a homeschool setting or like a public setting, if you pull back the reasoning, if it's not for you, then that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But I don't know if a lot of people think like that. They think that this is the right way or the wrong way of living.
Yeah. My way or the highway.
That's funny that you went there because I did not go there at all with it. That was a good way of
It's
thinking.
the first thing that popped into my mind.
Do you have any other comments on that at all of selfishness or living your life in that perspective?
There's a time that I was like really negative and thought that everybody was selfish, especially myself. But I looked around the room and I would always think of like the selfish motivations of others.
Mm-hmm.
But
in what way? Because I don't, and like I do agree with that like idea of like selfishness not being bad. Is there a projection of selfishness that you don't like, or what, or like manipulate other people for their gain is kind of where you're thinking.
There's like no matter what, everything we do is going to be motivated by something, and that like I agree. Like it's not a bad thing to have some selfishness because you're going to like your life is your life, and you're going to always be thinking in terms of yourself before anything else.
Yeah.
Like if you try to not do that, you kind of almost lose your identity a little bit because you're always thinking in terms of what others' needs are.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a boundary there. Like you can't manipulate other people consciously, and there'd be nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But that's how I'm just thinking about how that just ties to me for social media and how there's so much manipulation going on there.
Yeah.
Like it's just the most blatant area where there is manipulation but that's how people get their thoughts out there. So
oh wow, okay. And I'm gonna take this dread of have an idea. No, I get 100% where you're coming from because I don't know if the issue is people chasing false goals or like their whole world perspective is I don't know, tarnished. I don't know, like I said, I don't know what to say it's a right or wrong way. But I think there's a good selfishness and a bad selfishness of that idea. Mm-hmm. I think there's a positive way of looking at it, but there's I think a lot of situations aren't in that motive. It's how can I use this other person to gain and elevate myself. And
I think everyone's consciously thinking like that, or are they just doing it?
Yeah, I do.
You think anytime someone is manipulating another person, they truly know that's what they're doing?
I think they know what their goal is. I don't think they might see that the manipulation is a negative thing. I think that their eyes are set on that one specific goal in such a fixated way that they don't even see like their morality might be bended or molded around that goal because they don't see it as being an issue if they get to that pursuit. So, which is what you hold someone accountable for being maybe somewhat of a shitty person. I think you should in most cases, but like, who is the person who dictates that line of what's shitty or not shitty?
I don't know. We need a judge like on The Good Place. Ever seen it?
No, I have not seen it. I think you scale that on a larger perspective, though, and that you're talking of different government structures now who dictating, like, because you just keep pulling that situation out of like who dictates what's right and wrong, who's the enforcer, who's and what's equality and not equal, and it's impossible, and I think it's an impossible task to feat. So that the only thing that we can do is just do what we think is right, but like that line is going to be different for every single person.
Yeah. Well, you just made me think of our government a little bit differently. Like it's just like man's best attempt, just attempting to like regulate people and just some of our more vicious tendencies.
Yeah, I think that's 100. Like that's all. It's this whole structuring of society is that idea and reasoning. How do we get the majority amount of people to comply and move society in that direction? And there's going to be different perspectives on what people think is right or wrong.
And that's like why right now we're in the state of the world where
United States has a pseudo capitalism, and like Europe is mostly based on somewhat of a, I don't want to say socialism, but like a very equitable base structure that lets people. I don't know why freeload came to my word, but that's like a very negative way of looking at it. But like they're just two sides of the same coin of like which one's right and wrong. No one will know because there's never been a perfect structure that works. Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years from now?
Oh, what? There's only a few things I hopefully know for sure.
Okay.
I will definitely be a mom. I know this as much, to be sure.
You're kind of already there.
I do get accused of being a mom.
A dog mom.
Yeah, a dog mom. That really counts.
I didn't mean in like the sense of you acting like a mom.
Yeah, so I know I'll be a mom. And I guess I hope I have just a better, maybe more consistency in my life.
Okay.
Because as we determined, I don't consistently stick with a lot of things. The only thing I can say I consistently stick with is the fact that I'm married to Tyler. Everything else is just like, it could change at any moment. Yeah. And I'm dedicated to my job. I don't know if I'll be at the same company. Actually, probably not something for the podcast, but.
Yeah, but I mean, who knows? You're not saying that you're actively trying to leave. It's just.
Yeah.
How are you supposed to know if you're gonna?
I know I could be anywhere. It's not like I'm, know that I'm in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
I could be a fluid artist selling my wares
on Etsy.
$100,000 in a day on Etsy.
Yeah.
Etsy. You guys should all get into it. You can make some mad money on there.
Yeah.
Minus the fees. I hope that like all the relationships that I have today have just grown, because that's something that I can appreciate is the folks that I've known from like childhood.
Yeah.
And now college, and now like in my work life, like I like always having like someone that I can talk to and a relationship there that I can build on, because it does get better with the years. Like my oldest friendship, you know her, Kate Harris.
Yeah.
Shout out. Yeah, she's like, I just feel like we're always going to be there for each other. And it's just cool to know that everybody you meet along the way, like you're going to continuously have a connection.
Yeah.
Even if you don't, catch up with them for a couple years or so.
Yeah.
I just want to keep those connections on.
Yeah, you seem like you try to hold on to that, keeping that close group of people around you.
Yeah.
Like, not saying it's a bad thing. I don't know. Have you seen friends like ebb and flow of like come and go through the course of high school, college, and career? Because I totally have had that experience of people that you talked to 10 years ago I haven't talked to in 5 years.
Yeah, I have the constants, but I also have, just as I've changed, I've had friend groups come and go, and I kind of mourn the loss of them, though. I always feel like some responsibility to reach back out to people that I haven't talked to in years, because they had some impact on my life. And even though they may not have reached out to me, I just still feel that the connection there. You
want to give an official shout out to your old friends? Thank you.
You know who you are. Thank you. Yeah. But no, tons of people have come and gone, but I do like that I can hold on to some people long term. Yeah. So I hope that those relationships are still there, because I do think like the American culture, and we don't say like you're raised by a village in America. Like all like families are so, close knit, and you're in your own little bubble. So I don't know that I'm going to have that experience that a village raises my children, but I still want my children to see other people in our lives coming through that had an impact on me.
Yeah.
And that could have an influence. So relationships are really important for me down the line.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's good. That's really good. I was kind of stuck on the village thought of being from a village of like, maybe, I don't know. I feel like might have had a little more of that experience just because I'm from such a small town.
Yeah.
Of like so many friends of like people you're around with was like your parents' friends, and like you grew up with their kids.
Yeah.
And like there's so much of this interconnectivity of being from New Eagle.
Seems like everybody's related. Like from the outside looking in, it's like you guys are all related. That's what
it is of some
of.
There is of some capacity. Mm-hmm. And then there's just like, even if you're not related, your friends and their parents are friends, so you inevitably hang out with them as kids.
Yeah.
And you're so exposed to like a village setting.
Yeah.
Of people.
Like I would like from the outside looking into your like I don't know, life words.
Yeah.
It just there have been times where I'm like I'm a little bit envious of that because you've had people that go like way back in your life, and you've got this like awesome people surrounding you that you've grown with, and now that you've had some of them on your podcast.
Yeah. And
you all just have people you can reference, and anybody in my life that I've really met, it just feels like they've all moved away. Like I'm meeting people and they're moving away. Yeah. I can't look back at my hometown and say that there's always going to be go-to people. Like if I go back now, everybody that I was friends with in elementary school isn't even in the state anymore.
Yeah.
Like it's almost lonely. So to me, it's very important that I continue to try to make relationships everywhere I go, because I'm trying to find that thing that like you inevitably have.
Yeah. Just
with like Morgan and all the Nyes and everybody in New Regal that knows each other, and you always will have each other, even if there is like a disconnect over time.
Yeah. Which I feel like now you make me feel guilty of like shitting on like a small town mindset a little bit.
No. But there can be pros and cons.
Yeah, and I think there is, and there's definitely that pro side is definitely there. You talk to people, and like if you here in the community and like you need help, or like you just need someone to get you out of situation, like there will be people there who will fucking drop it and just go help you. And
yeah,
in a big fast-paced city lifestyle, like I think that sort of relationship doesn't exist as frequently, or just like people don't have the ability, or like it's just completely different of a lifestyle. So
right. It's harder to find people you can absolutely depend upon.
Yeah.
Like they could be gone in a flash.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about. Yeah, is that saying like the village, being raised by a village, is that an actual saying somewhere? Or?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's more based in maybe different cultures.
Yeah.
Where there's just more community around raising children, but for the American household, it's just very, I don't know, I just feel like you're kind of in a bubble.
Yeah.
At least maybe that's how it felt for me.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, but, and like that's why I'd say the counter argument is of being from a small town, you're in a bubble. But, and going like full circle to our conversation about like being online and social media, it's like there's bubbles being created there now that people are only exposed to. It's just an online bubble.
Yeah.
And that's, maybe it's how it's always been. we're looking at it through a different lens of echo chambers, or whatever you want to call it, that's always existed through history. It was just physically, not digitally.
That's a good point.
Just transcending the next step of uploading our brains completely on to the database.
Google.
Yeah. That's you. I mean, you've sold your soul to Google.
You have too. You just haven't done it as consciously. Google knows you.
That's true. I guess I upload my hours of my thinking to YouTube.
There
so
you
I'm
go.
Basically selling them enough data or consciousness to them to try to recreate me. Maybe I'm more of a slave.
You probably are. I don't have hours of my own thoughts on YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm private in that way. They can only hear what I say in my house.
And after this episode is released.
Yeah, very true. But good thing everything I've said is a lie, so they won't know.
Okay. I know what we talked about it probably a little bit earlier. Just but I want to get back into it and maybe have more of a a full perspective from you on it is goals and goal making. Is there anything that when you set goals for yourself, is there anything consciously that you do to establish that goal, or is there any thought, like how does your mind work when you say that goal is being made?
Oh man. So, I guess firstly, I think I definitely resist making goals for myself sometimes.
Okay.
Maybe out of fear of failure, maybe because I'll, say whatever to myself that says that I can't achieve it. But then when I ultimately set a goal, I don't know, I always think about what the end result is.
Yeah.
And then who is going to benefit from that goal being met to help keep me motivated to reach the end of it.
Do you, I don't know, do you have any like big goals right now that you have for yourself outside of like the 5 to 10 year outlook on life of pursuing a family and that route? Is there other things that you have established for yourself right now?
I guess I'd really like to see a little bit more consistency from myself.
Okay.
I'd like to see myself have something more established, some sort of creative outlet. Like, I know these things are good for me to add to my life, and I don't want to see myself pour my entire mentality into work.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like a concrete choice. Like, I don't know what the outlet will be.
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't have something consistent that's not just work and taking care of other people, then I don't think that's going to be super healthy. I just don't know what that is right now.
So you don't think that, I don't think there's an issue with like not having a consistency in that. I'm not trying to like push back on that goal. I'm like, for sure, 100%. If like you're on the path of like trying to find your niche,
Yeah.
is kind of what I would call it, of like what you really, really are into. I think that should be is what you want to like really delve into. But I also don't think that there's necessarily an issue with dabbling, like we said, of like a ton of different things, because you can have enjoyment to that. And at the end of the day, if that continues for an extended amount of time, you will have a
jack of all trades.
You'll have a lot of experiences that people never had, which is kind of like, I would say, tailored to being curious and like just kind of delving into it and making that commitment of just going and learning, which is cool and super respectable, because a lot of people might see some painting styles online and just go, that's really cool, I wish I could do that. But with that and skiing and kayaking, you've made the initiative to go do it, which is, I think, respectable in its own right and not an issue. But yeah, 100%.
I think it's just a matter of like, I want to watch myself actually excel at something that's not work or, like I said, taking care of others, because I really like taking care of others and like making sure everybody's got the best experience. But I don't really do that for my life, and making sure that I'm, meeting personal achievements. I don't know, I kind of see myself fall short. Like, I'm sure I've had plenty of goals in the past that I just sort of put behind me, and I know that like I just really like to see myself surprise myself and not disappoint myself. I don't know, with the next goal. And I'd rather make micro goals than big goals, because I think they're more achievable.
I agree 100% with that perspective. I think if goals are too big, you will always continue to tell yourself that it's unattainable.
Yeah.
and then you'll find yourself 5, 10, 20 years down the road still never even achieving that goal, because it's so big and so much of a step that it's impossible to make that leap. Whereas if you continuously make small steps in that direction, you will actually achieve it.
Yeah. It's just a matter of sitting down and saying, like, what micro goal am I trying to achieve right now?
Yeah. And
I have to just be okay with that and not constantly be thinking about the larger goal at stake.
Yeah.
Because I'm 27, and even now I look back at people who are like 20 years old and like, Jonah, who's lived like 4 lives.
Not quite, but
yeah, but still,
yeah,
it's cool to have something to strive for, and I like that I'm open to things and willing to try anything. I just really like to see myself commit to something.
Yeah.
And make something of it, like you have with like videography. Like you took it and you made a thing of it. I don't think any of us can stop singing your praises with remodeling your triplex and all of those things that you said you'd do, and you went and did them, and those were totally micro goals for you, and they could be bigger goals if you want them to be.
Yeah.
But I'm so much like I could do anything, but I don't really take the big leaps.
Yeah.
So I'd love to do that. I just can't. I just need to like take myself seriously for a second and put my heart into those things. It's just, how do I decide? I gotta get over that fact and decide on something and be willing to commit and watch what I'm capable of.
I think once you do something or you dabble into an interest, or if you continue to push yourself to go in that direction, if you really find yourself passionate about something, that it will come naturally. And that's like kind of what,
when do I find myself passionate? I've dabbled in a million things now. I did pottery just the other day, and I'm like, yeah, I could keep doing pottery. I could get better at pottery, but do I want to do pottery right now? Like, am I always going to say that, or am I ever going to find something?
No, I don't know. I think that's part of, I don't know if like video for me was the right thing to continue to pursue.
Right, but you did it anyway.
Yeah, and I have enjoyed the path of it. But like, yeah, who's to say that it's the right thing to continue to go down and really find enjoyment from? I think if you're finding enjoyment from that, and you will find more passion as you go down that route on it. And the same thing with, like, for my stuff is I, continuing to learn from it, trying to build on techniques and stuff, and continuing to build that skill set has been fun in itself.
Yeah.
It's hard saying.
When you started those out, though, how long did it take before you really were truly taking it serious? Like, you had to have had a moment where you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Like, how'd you get past that moment? Did that moment even happen for you?
No, I don't think so. I had moments, I had aspirations of it, like wanting to get better when I was terrible kind of thing.
Right.
So it was
striving for perfection.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of, like, I don't know, the challenge in itself of always maybe having an idea of wanting to make some sort of style of videos, and maybe that's from enjoying movies. I don't know what like the root reasoning for it is, but I just have enjoyed it. I just been down that path, and maybe one day I might decide to go do something else. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Right now, I'm gonna continue going down it. I enjoy it, so we'll see what happens. Basically,
that's cool.
All right, Amy, do you have anything else that you want to talk about
before the big questions?
The big questions. Yep. Just I have one last big one.
Oh, I know what this is. What's your favorite cocktail on a sunny day?
Oh, completely pulling it back.
Gotta keep it a little loose, a little light.
Favorite cocktail? Probably mojito on a sunny day. Is that a cocktail?
Unbeatable cocktail.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, for sure. Just the nice freshness of the drink when it's hot out. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
That one, or maybe just some bourbon. Might be good too, but probably on a sunny day, that would be the most refreshing one.
Yeah.
What about you?
Oh, it's the same one.
No.
Or a margarita.
Oh yeah, we had mojitos before. You've always talked about that a couple times when like it's starting to get warm.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I drink in the summertime.
Yeah.
But I started adding like different juices and stuff, pineapple juice and others. So good stuff. Yeah, I'm stalling.
Yeah, so this was definitely a stall question. All right, Amy. Let's wrap up this episode with one last question. What is the meaning of life?
Honestly, like, You can't be armed for this question. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Okay.
No, it is just that it's being, being present in your everyday life.
Yeah.
Like, not always thinking about if the grass is greener somewhere. Like, I was born in Ohio. I could have been born in Norway. I could have been born in India. I could have been born anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, you have to take your life and you have to appreciate it for what it is and do with it what you feel is best. Try to achieve some type of happiness. If you're miserable, then try to make correction for yourself. Do your best to, treat others, though they're important. Everybody's going through something different. And we all have our own goals. It's just such a question.
Yeah.
But for me, it really is just that. It's trying to live each moment as though it matters, and remembering more and more lately, like you really only live one life. So with that life, you need to do the things that make you happy, strive to meet your passions, and I think more than anything, just like treat the people that you love the way they should be treated.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's all it is. That's all
We're done rambling. Yeah, we're done rambling.
Oh, I like it. And yeah, like it's a very obscure and unattainable question that
we could say 42 and just be done with it. I could have done that.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah. Have you
answered this question yet, or are you just saving that?
I agree with you.
Because there's so many meanings. You'll probably agree with anybody on this podcast.
Yeah. I think, yeah. There's no wrong answer to that question.
Yeah.
And I hope that I know you could tell you're like, maybe the stress level was increased too much when that question was asked. But I don't think that there is a right answer. And I just I'm curious of what comes to people's minds when they hear that question of being maybe an unattainable answer. But I think there's always something that comes to people's heads when that question's asked. And with just rolling with it and saying that out loud might give it some substance, but and bring it back down to the real world of thinking about your situation, life in general, and what all we're doing in it. So
yeah,
that's my thoughts on it.
Great thoughts, Jake. Great thoughts.
Amy, thank you for doing this. Appreciate it. It was a good conversation. Next time again, we'll cut the headphones out from the start to make it feel more natural, and we'll go from there.
All right, great. Thanks for having me, Jake.
Awesome.
This was enjoyable.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Actually, that's all clear empty, so I'll finish it off.
One beer later.
That's it. You made it.
We made it.